I was born and raised in Philadelphia. Born in 1923. I lived in Southwest Philly, then I moved to South Philly. I finished high school and I went to work in the RCA when I graduated in 1941. And then in 1942 I enlisted in the Marines and I was gone.
When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, immediately the United States knew that they had to start mobilizing. And with Franklin Delano Roosevelt's speech, immediately people just started registering for the military.
I would agree with the fact that you should live for today, and I would agree with the fact that the decisions that you make today will affect what you are tomorrow. So you should live in the now, create the now for yourself, and the now becomes tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But it's those little decisions that you make on a daily basis that will actually develop into who you become tomorrow.
We had boarded the ship in Hawaii, and we were on that troop ship for 47 days before we knew where we were going. We were going somewhere, but nobody knew where.
In order to conduct the firebombing raids that went from the Marianas to Japan, they had to fly over the Bonin Island chain. Iwo Jima is part of the Bonin Island chain. And so what ends up happening is, as these long-range bombers are flying over and to Japan, they are being intercepted by the radars on Iwo Jima.
To get from the troop ship to the island, we went over the side on the cargo net and climbed down the side of the ship. And then the landing craft came in right alongside the ship, and you made a very strategic move to go from the cargo net into the LCVP without slipping down in between the two and getting smashed. When enough of the landing craft were loaded, a signal was given and they would break out of their orbit and form a line. And then at another signal, we would start for the beach.
When the Navajos were first introduced into the Marine Corps, they were all put in communication school. They were all becoming radio men. These Navajos could actually receive the message, encode it into the Navajo language, and then translate it in real time.
In training, my dad was hooked up with a guy named Paul, and he was his Navajo code talker. They kind of went through training together and were kind of attached at the hip for training and then deployment. And they landed on the beaches of Iwo together. And unfortunately, Paul didn't make it off the beach.
He said to me, "What do we do now, John?" And I said, "Well, let me take a look." And I turned around to him to say, "Let's join the rest of the troop up on the sand." And he was down already, so he had gotten picked off by a sniper right through the ribs, like in under the left arm and out the right arm. And he was killed instantly, you know, no doubt about it.
My father would say that I was named after Paul, his Navajo code talker buddy from World War II and the landing of Iwo Jima.
When we landed, we were on the lowland in between the two high points, and they just poured the stuff down on top of us. They could drop a mortar in your pocket if they wanted to. And my philosophy was, today is bad, but tomorrow's going to be worse.
Upon completion of the Iwo Jima campaign, what ended up happening is the 5th Marine Division went back to Camp Tarawa on the Big Island of Hawaii. And then eventually they had heard that not only that Franklin Delano Roosevelt had passed, but then the atomic bomb had been dropped.
One man in our group had a radio, and he says, "Do you think you can convert this from 6 volt to 110 volt? So I took it and I converted the radio, and it was on that radio that we heard that they had dropped the bomb in Japan at Hiroshima, and then a couple of days later at Nagasaki. We got through the minefield okay, and we got back to the States in January of 1946. My life and experiences in the war have changed my life more than I realized in the beginning. I said, but however, I recovered, got married, had a family successfully, and overall, the overall picture is a very pleasant memory.